Miller, Genuine Draft 200. And now we're ready for that command.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
So here in the blazing hot sun of Central Ohio, the Indy cars are ready to run once again. 29 sit on the pit straight. The unusual situation here is they will start over on a second straightaway to give them plenty of room to maneuver. So we are ready to run. There's your front row. Hello and welcome. I'm Paul Page. So many stories here at Mid-Ohio with just 4 races left to go in the IndyCar season. Number 1, Roger Penske right now is in an appeals process over Al Unser Jr.'s disqualification from his win at Portland. Then there's some medical updates. Stan Fox, injured at the Indianapolis 500, has been released from the hospital, is home in Janesville, Wisconsin. And Stan, we wish you a speedy recovery. We want to see you back soon. Robbie Gordon, injured in the practice crash at the Michigan 500. He is here. He's ready to race. Danny Sullivan, in his crash during the Michigan 500, suffered a broken pelvis. He'll be out at least 7 more weeks. Juan Manuel Fangio has been put in the car to replace Danny. Then there's the story of the silly season. You know, drivers changing this team and that and all of the rumors. Well, one thing isn't a rumor. Jacques Villeneuve, the current points leader, is going to Formula One, we assume at Williams, though that hasn't been announced. And that may have an impact on the points fight and his focus on the championship. Let's go now to Jack Arute.
Well, we'd hope to talk to Jacques Villeneuve about his impending change to Formula One, but just moments ago he informed us that he refuses to do an interview concerning it. Of course, as you alluded to, the fact that possibly his mind may be distracted from the chase at hand, and that is the PPG IndyCar World Series championship that he leads. The rumors abound that he has already signed the contract with Williams to run there in 1996. Team Green, a big question mark as to what they will do, but right now what's most important for this team and this man, maintain focus and try and continue his chase to the championship here in IndyCars. Gary?
Well, Jack, while Villeneuve looks like he is in command now of the championship battle, as we come down to the stretch of this season, everybody's wondering, will in fact he be able to run off to the title for IndyCar? But one of the guys who's mathematically very much in the hunt, in fact second in the points, and certainly is no stranger to championship battles, Bobby Rahal, 3 times a champion. So how do you feel now, counting this event with 4 to go, about the chances of being able to overhaul Villeneuve?
Well, let's face it, we need his help. You know, with a 31-point lead, I think he's got on me. Basically, all he has to do is keep finishing, even just anywhere in the top 6, I think. And no matter what happens with everybody else, he's got it wrapped up. But, you know, in 92, I had a 30-point lead going into this race, and 2 races later, I was in 2nd place. So a lot can happen very quickly. And, you know, if Jacques will cooperate and I can do well here, maybe win today, you know, maybe we'll make it a close race after all.
Bobby starts in the 5th row, and keep in mind, he's won here 2 times in the past. This is a track he considers his home track. Now, let's check in with our former drivers, Sam Posey and Bobby Unser.
Thanks, Gary. Well, it was hot in Cleveland and hotter still in Michigan, but Bobby, this is the worst yet.
Well, Sam, just think about this one. 97 degrees, 95% humidity, 127 degrees on the track. Now, that's really hard on the drivers. Plus, this track physically is one of the hardest tracks in the entire season on the drivers.
And add to that, that many of the drivers' contracts are being renegotiated right now, and they're under incredible pressure to succeed today in these very tough conditions.
As they completed the first of their parade laps, Al Unser Jr. came into the pits, changed his left rear tire. We'll keep track of him. Here's the lineup. Jacques Villeneuve on the pole. He broke the track record by almost a second, his 4th pole of the year. Brian Herta is alongside. His best career finish was 2nd at Cleveland, only 2 races ago. In row 2, Michael Andretti, the Toronto winner, has not started worse than 10th this season. And Big Mo, Mauricio Guzman, he's looking for his first top 10 finish since Portland. In row 3, Robbie Gordon. This is the first race since a practice crash at Michigan. And Gilles de Ferran, the Cleveland pole winner, is the fastest Mercedes-Benz in the field. In row 4, Paul Tracy. He has 2 second-place finishes in 3 Mid-Ohio starts. And Al Unser Jr., the defending champion. Row 5, Bobby Rahal, a back-to-back winner here in 85 and 86. And Jimmy Vasser. In row 6, Adrian Fernandez and Andre Ribeiro. Row 7, Raul Boesel. and Juan Manuel Fangio substituting for Danny Sullivan. In the 8th row, Christian Fittipaldi and Teo Fabi. Row 9, Stefan Johansson and Emerson Fittipaldi. The 10th row, Scott Goodyear is back, alongside with Parker Johnstone. In row 11, Scott Pruitt and Marco Greco. The 12th row, Eddie Cheever and Eliseo Salazar. The 13th row, Carlos Guerrero and Hiro Matsushita. In the 14th row, Eric Bachelard and Alessandro Zampedri. And alone in the 15th row, 29th position, Hubert Stromberger. So the PPG pace cars leading the field around, 29 cars. The track record here is held by Al Unser Jr. He said it during his win last year. Those fuel stops are absolutely critical. This is, after all, a tight road course. In the Nations Cup, United States is still leading in the points fight there. And then in today's field, there's the chassis, the engines, the tire breakdown in today's starting field. And in the Manufacturers' Championship, Mercedes-Benz is still trailing Ford Cosworth in that fight. And at this track, well, where are the trouble areas? There's actually one really critical area down there at 4 and 5. And coincidentally, when you look at the passing areas, well, one of them overlaps that. The other possible passing area, for routine passing, of course, is there in turn 2 going into the keyhole. And this season, the track records have just been falling right and left. Look at that. Guys who broke track records and the events they broke them at this season, with Jacques Villeneuve now with 4 brand new track records with his 4 poles thus far this season. So the Indy cars are set to go, and I'll tell you something, heat is truly a factor here. This may, in fact, be the hottest day in IndyCar racing since years ago at Cleveland, about 83 or 84. Now, Al Unser Jr., as you saw, came into the pits. Gary Gerald, any news on that?
Yeah, he thought he cut a tire, picked up a stone, and so he ducked in, and they changed one of the rears. It was approved by CART. Of course, you're supposed to start the race on the tires that you qualify. That was okay, so everything appears to be routine after a quick tire change.
All right, as we mentioned, here at this course, they start over on the longest straightaway to give them plenty of racing room down to the first set of corners, which are those tight right and left-handers that are the trouble zone. And here we go. Whoa, somebody gets off the edge and back on. Kicks up a lot of dust as Villeneuve comes down to the inside. Michael Andretti moves into second place. One car off and sliding, stays away from the barrier.
He hit a little bit, Paul. Looks like his right front rubbing against the finish just a little bit there.
The right rear, though. Looks like it may have let go. So Guzman drops into third place behind Michael Andretti. Now they climb, coming back up toward the pit straight, and they'll be making their first pass after the carousel here down the pit straight. There's the final turn onto the pit straight as Jacques Villeneuve completes the first lap as the leader. Michael Andretti in second place, then Guzman, then Herta. Robbie Gordon's dropped in to sixth place. Gil DeFerrin is closing in. Gil made a great set of passes on that start. And there's Scott Pruitt into the pits prematurely, obviously. Our last winner, the Michigan 500, his first win. Scott Pruitt comes in. I'm going to change all 4. Let's take a look at the start once again. Looking up back in the top. He got in there with one of the Penske cars. That's part of what sent Parker Johnstone sliding. Trying to make sense out of this here at the back of the field. So that's 3-car contact back there at the back.
What happened is, Paul, they were all trying to vie for getting into the first turn, which is on the back straightaway this time together. There's Ron Boycell.
Got a problem.
Yeah, he's got problems too.
Let's go to Gary Gerald. Scott Pruitt, what's his problem, Gary?
Similar problem to Al Unser Jr. He had a cut tire, so they had to come in and change. This has been a real frustrating weekend thus far for the man who won the last IndyCar race.
That's a little weird, too, because they've had the jet, meaning that it blows everything off the track. They've had it out there completely around the racetrack and through the pit, so that's a little strange.
Jack Arute, Parker Johnstone situation.
Well, Paul, he radioed in. Parker did to the crew that he got hit hard in the back and it tore the front end of the car up so bad he does not think he can continue. They're waiting his arrival on pit road. Could be an early exit for Parker Johnstone, pole sitter in the Michigan 500.
we see two Formula One aspirants running 1-2. Jacques Villeneuve, of course, is going next year in the blue car, leading the race, and Michael Andretti, who went 3 years ago and had a tough season with McLaren. It'll be very interesting to see how Jacques fares next year in Formula One.
83 laps, the scheduled distance here, 186.75 miles. This is Al Unser Jr.'s 200th career start, and already he's struggling a bit with it. Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, here's another bizarre early race report. Juan Manuel Fangio II, driving Danny Sullivan's car for Pac West number 17, hit a woodchuck on the opening lap. I don't know that there was any damage at all to the race car, but some strange things happening early in the heat.
Gary, we saw that woodchuck out here the other day on Friday, and Emerson Fittipaldi almost ran him over that day.
And that was the exact same woodchuck.
Oh, of course it was.
Absolutely.
What color was it?
Well, here's a look forward from Bobby Rahal's car. Rahal must move up. He has not passed a great many cars in the season. Most of his passing has been in the pits, or he's picked up places through attrition. Today, he's going to have to move and move hard past people that are very hard to get by, like Paul Tracy, who's right ahead of him now.
As Rahal chases Tracy, that's Al Unser Jr. moving up, trying to get into position on Rahal. Overall, it is a battle for 7th place.
And right in there is one of the passing places. Get used to where the cars are as they come around. Look at that turn at the end of the long straightaway where they started. That's where most of the passing will happen today.
This is a very demanding part of the track here. You see them becoming a little bit airborne there. Then right after that S-bend, another tight turn where they again get very light right in there and head up this Thunder Valley section of the track, which looks open to us as we see it in the camera. In the race car, it's rough and it's very narrow.
Back on board, Bobby Rahal.
You know, as you watch this camera shot from Rahal's car, I just want to mention this. Sam and I was talking about this earlier. It's a beautiful shot. It shows you what the driver really sees. Up to the point where, remember, the camera is fixed. The driver's eyes are looking way ahead at the track. So as you watch this, all of you people watching television, put your eyes out in front when you see these on cams like this. Imagine that the driver's eyes are where he's going to go, not necessarily what we see on television. If you hear the gear shifts on Bobby Rahal's car, just imagine now, these are a sequential shift transmission, much like a motorcycle, which I've totally told everybody all season. All they do is just pull back one notch. The gear shift never really moves in the car very much.
Further update now. Let's go pit side, Gary Jerry.
Well, Paul, we've had two teams confirm the fact that the problems for both Parker Johnstone and for Scott Pruitt were triggered by contact. Apparently, Eddie Cheever got into the front of Pruitt's car, and Pruitt in turn got a piece of Johnstone. That's why they both had problems. In the early, it was a result of contact.
And that, of course, coming right on the start itself as they came screaming down this area here and began breaking down for this hard right-hander, one of the critical passing areas. They're strung out there. Jacques Villeneuve is still the leader, followed by Michael Andretti and Mauricio Gugelmin, then Brian Herta and Gilles de Ferran. Beautiful view down on this magnificent.
You can really see the different grooves right there, Paul, as they go through. Rahal is totally different groove than the other guy. That's interesting from the sky, from up high.
So here in the early laps in the Miller Genuine Draft 200, Jacques Villeneuve is the leader, being chased by Michael. Back at the Miller Genuine Draft 200, here's the top of the field and the interval back from the leader of the race, Jacques Villeneuve. Though in the past couple laps, Gilles de Ferran has been closing on Brian Herta. So we'll track that for you. There is de Ferran, Herta just ahead. This is the battle on the course right now. Also during the past few laps, they had a local yellow flag out for Parker Johnstone. Apparently, that yellow condition was violated by Andre Ribeiro and Raul Boisel. They have both been given a black flag for a stop-and-go penalty. Ribeiro, we've watched him answer that with incredible verve when he went in and out of the pits. I mean, it was just spin and smoke everywhere off those rear tires. Here's the Honda Helicam looking down on this battle between DeFerrin and Herta.
Watch DeFerrin in the yellow car there, out-braking Herta in the red car right in front of him. As they come into the turns, DeFerrin picks up ground. Jack, is that what you see too?
Well, Sam, one of the concerns for Chip Ganassi and his team after qualifying so well was the fact that they had what we quote mileaged out their last Series 1 Ford Cosworth power plant. It had to come out of the car. They're running with the Series 2 that is a little less reliable and untested. And that was of some concern to them. They wanted to back off just a bit. Now, DeFerrin's crew was aware of it as well. And the radio communication so far, the team for Jim Hall has been radioing to DeFerrin that Herta is just challenging you to pass him. Why don't you get on with the job at hand and get around Brian Herta?
DeFerrin, of course, had his best race of the year at Cleveland, 2 races back on another blisteringly hot day, a race he seemed destined to win. Here he makes another very deep braking maneuver and picks up a chunk on Herta. He's all over him in this section here.
Jack, maybe you better go over and tell Jim Hall that sometimes it's not as easy for the driver as the car owner thinks it is.
So continuing to track that battle between Gil DeFerrin and Brian Herta. They come down under the bridge, the lower section of the course, then begin to climb the hill once again. Here's your running order at the conclusion of 8 laps, 83 laps the scheduled distance. Incredibly hot here today. And surely that will figure not only in the mechanical performance, but human performance before this day is over.
Herta performing in front of many family members. He lives near here, and I think feels under great pressure. A young driver who really wants to renew his contract and get on with his future. He knows he needs a great ride today, and so far he's having it. He was on the outside of the front row. A brilliant performance for Herta, and his second front row start of the year. He was on the pole at Phoenix.
These closing races for so many are show-off races, really, where they're not sure, they don't have a contract for next year, they're in negotiations, so they have to do the best possible job they can, sometimes take an extra risk or chance to try and show off enough that they can renew that contract or get a new one.
And there's a kind of chemistry to it, Paul, too. I mean, if you seem to be in demand, I mean, if you have just one hot race, it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Other team managers and owners start coming by your trailer. So even though you might have had a deal wrapped up with your current owner, maybe now you can sign for more money. And remember, the monies involved here are incredible. More money might mean $250,000.
One of the things I like, too, is auto racing across the board is performance-based. You get paid for winning. Not a big union here somewhere, not a bunch of million-dollar agents. These guys are out to earn their money on the racetrack.
Also keep in mind another thing as we look up on our screen, says 72 laps to go. Now, a lot of these guys are going to be awfully tired. These drivers are not big, muscular guys like football players. They're in good shape. They are truly athletes. But some of them, because of the heat, the humidity, and this is a very demanding track, are going to be very tired. So as we get down to like the last 20 laps of this race, we're going to see what I call a lot of tired puppies.
Bobby, over the past 10 years, we've seen a lot of devices, skull caps that were cooled and cool suits and that sort of thing to help the drivers on a day like this. But that's pretty well gone by the way. But first, let's go to the pits. Jack Roots with Parker Johnstone.
Well, an early doubt for the Motorola Honda team, Parker. What happened? You got into it with another driver?
Well, no, not really. We had a little bit of a bunch up in front of us on the right side, and Scott Goodyear and I and Scott Pruitt got a good run down the left side, and we're all under braking, looked like it was going to be nice and clean. And just as we started downshifting for turn 5, I got run into like the movie Speed. It was like the bus hit me from behind. Hit the car so hard it bent the left rear suspension, flatted the tires, spun me off into the barrier, and hurt the nose, which is too bad because I think after this morning's warm-up, we were looking forward to a race. I loved the heat. It looked like we were going to have a good day today, and it's just unfortunate.
Let's talk about the heat, though. I know you didn't have many laps out there, but what are the concerns from a driver's standpoint when you have this type of heat and humidity?
Well, I tell you, this is really going to separate the men from the boys because the guys that train hard, especially in high humidity conditions, and that hydrated properly and got the right nutrition prior to this race are going to be able to run strong, although they'll be dead tired at the end of it. I think probably half or 2/3 of the way you're going to start seeing guys making mistakes and if nothing else, slowing down as they start to lose concentration. So I think it's really going to have an effect on the outcome of this race.
Paul?
Christian Fittipaldi working on Adrian Fernandez for 10th. So, Bobby, we don't see that kind of stuff the cool suits and everything in Indy cars anymore?
Well, most of them have failed. What you don't realize is that they would use them. Number one, they don't have a lot of room. Number two, the pumps, the things that pumps the cold water to get the circulation either to their head or their bodies, usually break. These engines turn 13, 14 plus 1,000 RPM, and what happens is that high frequency vibration has a tendency to tear the pumps up.
So nothing changes at the front of the field while we ride with Robbie Gordon. It is Jacques Villeneuve that leads Michael Andretti, then Mauricio Gugelmin, Brian Herta, Hilda Farron, and this driver, Robbie Gordon. Back at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, the Miller Genuine Draft 200. Again, here is the interval, and you can see that Jacques Villeneuve, who's turned the fastest lap of the race thus far at 114.9 miles an hour, is stretching out that interval, and that is why, of course, the pit stops will become so very critical here when they come up, and fuel calculations. These temperatures and the humidity having a tremendous impact on the run today. Speaking of Al Unser Jr., who currently runs in 9th place, trying to chase down Bobby Rahal about 100 yards ahead. Remember, he was disqualified from his win at Portland. They said that there was an inappropriate clearance, an illegal clearance between the marking points on his car and the ground, and as a result, a disqualification occurred. Then Roger Penske filed a protest to the disqualification. Early on Sunday morning at the Michigan 500, the Penske team was handed an answer to that protest, which essentially was that it was denied. And now Roger Penske has filed an appeal, and the way the appeal process works is the officials will choose a judge, and Roger Penske will choose a judge, and then those two judges, who presumably have an understanding of racing and the law, will choose a third judge, so you get some impartiality across the board there. And then in 30 days, as the time limit specified in the rules, within 30 days, they will hold that appeal to determine whether or not that win should be regranted back to Al Unser Jr. or remain with Jimmy Vasser. Now, the big speculation in the paddock seems to be there was a question about the under tray on Little Al's car that, you remember, part of it flew off during the race. Well, now the indication in the paddock is that they may, in fact, the officials have that under tray, and that could enter into the whole appeals process. So we'll keep in touch on that for you.
Well, I really don't think that that piece is going to figure into it. What they do is they have a measurement when the race is over. This is what part is hanging their rules on. Now remember, so far, Penske thinks he's right because he started with a car what he thinks was legal. He finished the race. They say the car wasn't legal, but it changed during the race. That's what their argument's going to be. We all watched on television, the piece flew off. Now, one of the big factors about the whole thing is so far the protest that Roger Penske has done was decided by the same people that penalized him. So therefore, he has to appeal it further to get a separate opinion, as you said.
All right, let's move up to the front of the field. Michael Andretti has been running in 2nd place, but the indications are he may have a problem, Gary.
Paul, the crew is very concerned because the wicker bill or gurney flap, it's a little strip of metal at the top of the rear wing. Apparently the hinge on the joint is loose and the wicker is slowly working its way out of position. And the crew says they can see it sticking out maybe 3 or 4 inches. I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not.
We're seeing it like 18 inches now.
Is that
Gary.
right? It's really working out. And you wonder now, how is that going to impact the handling characteristics of the car? Because that's a critical piece that relates to aerodynamic downforce.
Now you can see, Gary, I'll just tell the folks that you can see that piece sticking out the left side of the wing. You can also, when we get a good camera shot on it, you can see the little flap that's intended. You see a little black flap? That is up. That is supposed to be down, holding the wicker bill from coming out to the side. That's up. It's going to stay up. Now, the wicker bill itself is spinning right now because the air hitting it, well, just imagine 180 miles an hour, roughly, air hitting that thing. It's spinning it already. He needs for it to stay at least till he makes his pit stop. They'll come out, slide another one in, and then lower the flap real quick, and it won't come out again.
Michael Andretti, of course, has won this race twice.
One other little thing on that wicker bill, Sam. is that whatever's sticking out, what we're looking at to be the right side of the wing right there that's circled, is not on the left side. So that part of the wing that doesn't have it has probably about 30% less downforce than the side on our right where the circle is. That's really hurting his handling also.
Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Well, here's exactly what we're talking about. Here's a spare wicker bill. You can see just this little innocent-looking strip of metal that fits along in that slot on the top of the rear wing. That's what's in jeopardy right now. That's what they may have to replace or obviously clean up. It just came off, I understand.
Yep, no more wicker bill there. What's that going to do to the downforce?
Well, probably most of it is still in there, Paul. It probably just broke off from the air. You can see that he still has an awful lot in his wing, so it just broke off. He's missing 18 inches or so on the right side right now.
Okay, he's 1.08. He's just about 1.1 seconds back at the moment that he lost that wicker bill entirely. He's been running very consistently at that distance behind Jacques. It'll be interesting to see what happens over the next 4 or 5 laps.
So he sits now 1.04 the distance back. Without the wicker bill, he appears to actually be doing better. Jackaroo?
Well, Paul, Jacques Villeneuve, your leader, doesn't have a wicker bill problem, but he is being counseled by Team Green to take care of 2 things. First, the left front tire on the car. They're a little bit concerned because of the temperatures, and what can happen under hot temperatures is if you don't hit the setup just right, you can either have severe understeer or severe oversteer. They are trying to monitor it because they were searching for the right setup this morning. More importantly, lap after lap, they are telling Jack, be sure to take on fluids. They want to hydrate their driver. So as Parker Johnstone alluded to, in the last quarter of the race, he's fully aware mentally and physically.
So Jacques Villeneuve is the leader before a giant crowd here, many of whom camped overnight here, including Robbie Gordon and a number of the drivers. We'll return after this message.
Jacques Villeneuve continues to lead. Michael Andretti, Mauricio Gugelmin, and Brian Herta. Paul Tracy is currently running. Oh, and look at how deep as Michael Andretti makes the run up on as they come to now the start-finish line at Mid-Ohio. Jacques Villeneuve in a record-setting pole position, his 4th in the last 6 races.
Back at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, Michael Andretti may be learning something about the car's operation without the wicker bill. It's completely off the car, but look how he's closed on Jacques Villeneuve. Now here we're at a key area of the course, running downhill to that right-hander, which is the primary passing zone.
Well, of course, what it means, having lost the wicker bill, is the rear of his car is sliding a little bit more, and it may have been just the ticket because he's closed up from just over a second back to where you see him now, right on Villeneuve's rear end.
Now the wicker bill, just so everybody knows, makes the wing work harder, makes the wing push the car in the back, down to the ground harder. Now, without it, it also makes the straightaway speed a whole lot better. Even though there's a lot of downforce of those wicker bills, the thing that they really gain is the straightaway speed. So that's the reason you saw Michael at the end of the long straightaway run right up behind Villeneuve.
Now, Michael might have qualified better. He qualified 3rd, and he seemed a bit off Villeneuve's time. But I think he had engine problems right at the end of qualifying, and obviously things are running fine now. The team has changed from their Series 2 engine, which had bedeviled them during the season, a lot of reliability problems, to the same Series 1 engine that Villeneuve has. So for the first time in the season, these cars are matched in engine configuration.
Just ahead of Villeneuve is, of course, Matsushita and Salazar, and they're becoming very much a factor in this battle.
And here's that straightaway that Bobby mentioned. This might favor Michael here. This is the longest straightaway on the track, and it's downhill. You really see some mighty speed.
Look at Villeneuve over on the right trying to block him. Villeneuve's completely out of the groove on the right trying to block Michael, and he came out, almost shoved him into the grass right there. That was a purposeful thing done. That's something that I don't think Kart should be allowing.
Well, I think the rule is you can make the first move, and that's protecting your position. You make the second move, and it's blocking.
Yeah,
it was obvious that Michael was up alongside of him coming off the turn, which is exactly what Michael was planning on doing there.
Yeah, but you wonder how it affects Michael. Remember, he was placed on probation after the race at Cleveland. And does that make him hesitate a little bit when he gets in a situation like that?
Yeah, well, Michael's as aggressive a driver as there is. He knows what he's doing. He's been here a long time. The officials putting him on probation, that's not going to bother him.
Well, I agree with Bobby 100%. I mean, when you're in the heat of battle like this, I don't think you think, I'm under probation. You drive as hard as you can, and that's exactly what he's doing.
He'll have something to say to Jock after the race is over about that one, because...
But Bobby, I disagree with you there. I think it was an okay move under the current kart regulations. Jock moved over, kept the door shut. It was Michael's move around the outside. Let's see what happens this time, if anything similar.
Not close enough to make the try, but close enough to help him move in just a little bit, maybe next time around.
Blocking him in the origination, Sam, was not bad. It's that when Michael did say, okay, you got the inside, I'll take the outside, he was there. And then Jock just pushed him right off the racetrack. If Michael had stayed there, it would have ended up being in an accident.
So they stay together, first and second, separated by barely a half a second, and Michael closes back in, trying to set position. So when they come onto that long straight again, he'll be in a clear position, try and pass.
One thing to remember about Jock's year, he's only gone out of races 3 times, one of the real low retirement rates, whereas Michael has been out of at least twice that many. He's had a tough season for retirements. He's brought some of them on himself. He's had some mechanical problems. So right now, you know, Jock is the steady one, so to speak. Michael, the volatile one.
Now onto the long straightaway, but Michael's not anywhere in attack position, Jackaroot.
Well, Paul, we've heard all kinds of strange things so far. A cut tire by a stone, a woodchuck getting run over. Believe it or not now, Jimmy Vasser has a problem with his pop-off valve. He is only getting 43 inches of boost. They have called to CART and asked for an additional pop-off valve. If there's a full course yellow, Tom Anderson and his crew intend to change the pop-off valve. In the interim, just a couple of laps from now, this team will go to work over the wall on the leader, Jacques Villeneuve. They're trying to conserve the left front tire. They intend to make no changes during the stop. Let's check in with Gary Gerald.
Jack, most of those teams are hitting the projected window for pit stops, but Al Unser Jr. 2 laps ago came in a bit early to make a change on tires and fuel in 13.7 seconds. The Newman-Haas team is expecting now Michael Andretti on this next time by. In fact, the crew just now going over the wall with their supplies, and we just checked in with Tommy Wirtz, and he said they will not change what's left of that wicker bill on the rear wing. Apparently, Michael says the car is handling to his satisfaction, so they're not even going to tinker with it.
Makes you wonder if your wicker bill is psychological or not, Bobby.
Well, it certainly does, and you know, it's a big, big, big crunch for a driver. It feels so good you wouldn't believe it. But it's obvious. Michael is going faster without it. That's the reason their decision is set.
Bobby, remember the old rule about movable aerodynamic devices? Maybe this is a trick way to shed...
No, don't open that can of worms.
I apologize.
So Michael Andretti and the rest facing stops here very shortly. And while this battle has gone on, it served to the advantage of Mauricio Guzman, who from time to time now, you see just behind Carlos Guerrero's green car there, he's been able to close in during the last several laps. So the pit stops are coming up. First round of stops next here for the Indy cars. And we'll track how fast these crews work and what good they do for their team. Back at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, I apologize. A great deal has gone on in the past few minutes. First of all, most of the leaders made their stops. Michael came out right behind Jack, and then they began a battle, and Michael was able to get around Jacques Villeneuve. So this battle continues, while at the same time, some cars have not yet stopped, and so the scoring will be out of balance until all cars have made their pit stop. But this is the key right here, Bobby. Here is the pass. Now watch Michael. Look at his center move.
Going right on the outside now. Back to the inside. He's faking it. He's letting Villeneuve try to block him, which he did.
But look at that corner that Villeneuve drives.
Villeneuve made it in there. He locked his front brakes up. You can see going as fast. But look at Michael. He's upset now. He's really going to try harder. Now watch him. Just keep watching now. He's got a run at him coming off the turn. And now he's got him blocked. There's nothing that Villeneuve could do right there. Michael has the lead.
And by the way, that part was not included in our passing zone area of the race.
Absolutely not. Michael did an extraordinarily good job right there.
That was right out of the pits when they both had full fuel load and new tires, too. So a time when the cars are tough for the drivers to handle because they haven't really bedded in yet, they went to battle stations like that.
Certainly the best pass that we've seen since the race started, right,
That
Sam?
was really good. Also, you could see that Villeneuve just did not want to let a clean pass occur on it. He really fought back hard. Notice now how much ground he's lost. Incredible.
So as Jack Villeneuve drops back, Gil DeFerrin, who picked the race lead up for a lap, made his stop and falls back into the order, and that gives over the lead of the race to Michael Andretti.
Michael obviously came out of the pits a whole lot faster than he went in, because just before he went in, he kind of slacked out. You can see right there, Villeneuve just went off our screen. You can see how much space there is between the two of them. Michael is literally pulling away right now.
All right, most of the key pit stops have been completed, Gary Gerald.
Well, let's start with the Newman-Haas team. Boy, they were elated with the work that they did for Michael Andretti. They did it in 13.6 seconds, and as we indicated, there was no change at all relating to the wicker bill, and we got a good look. There's a little bit of a dent in the upper part of the top rear wing, but there is no wicker bill there. Paul Tracy came in, severe handling problems. The car had been giving him just a handful, both going into and exiting the corners. They made a significant wing change at the front. Also, he had a close call with Carlos Guerrero coming into the pits, and he almost had contact with Teo Fabi leaving. One other footnote, Mauricio Gugelmin came in ahead of them. He stalled and lost about 8 extra seconds getting restarted. Now, let's check in with Jack.
Well, Gary, let's update you on Jack Villeneuve. You know, he seemed to fade there, as Paul and you alluded to. Well, I checked with Barry Green, the crew chief on the car, and he said they banged wheels, he and Michael Andretti, and they're very, very concerned about having enough at the end of the race, so they're playing it very conservatively. In the meantime, let me show you what's come out onto pit road. We told you about Jimmy Vasser's concern. Well, here's how IndyCar will cooperate. They have brought out a brand new pop-off valve. If there's a full course yellow, look for Vasser and company to make the exchange.
Well, obviously, this is a moment where Villeneuve thinks about the championship, and he thinks to himself, Michael's getting away. I can consolidate second, or if need be, even third place. There's Ribeiro out of the car.
Had a fire on that car. Ribeiro, they suddenly started spraying the back of the car, and Ribeiro wasn't going to wait any time at all. He was out of there, and that's as Scott Goodyear, who's driving the team car. You can see him accelerated off, but quick work by the Tasman team. Got that fire out, and Ribeiro is safe.
You know, one of the things that happens today, it's really hot. Now, even though we say, well, it's 95 or 97 degrees, whatever it is right now outside, everything under the hood in the car is hot. When they come into the pits, the heat all soaks, because remember, the engine is all wrapped really tight in bodywork, and I mean really tight. So all that heat soaks in really fast. If there's a fuel leak of any type, boy, it just lets off.
You can see the solicitation of his crew for this young driver who is so popular. One of the most popular new drivers ever to come on the scene.
And incredibly quick. Good driver. Studied the law originally and came over to become a racing driver. I think racing is the better for it. Bobby Rahal now runs 4th place. That's DeFerrin just ahead in 3rd. Rahal continuing to pursue points, and of course this would be a wonderful position to be in should anything happen to Villeneuve.
Now right there you saw Bobby Rahal go to the right, and you saw also that he wasn't close enough to make that pass. What he's trying to do is DeFerrin watches him in his mirrors. He's faking him. He's getting him used to the fact that he may try to pass there, so as DeFerrin will drive into the turn deeper and make a mistake.
All right, the situation with Andre Ribeiro, Gary Gerald.
Well, a very frightening moment anytime you hear that word fire in the pits. Andre, what happened? And you're there in the hot seat.
Well, it was hot before already. It's very hot out there, but here get even hotter with the fire. But thanks God, nothing happened.
Do you have any idea how the fire was ignited, how it started?
No idea, no idea.
Well, we're happy that you're all right. Tough to be out of this one.
Thank you.
Henry Ribeiro seemed to be okay. Glad Gary got a chance to talk with him to confirm it for us, though. Back to that battle, DeFerrin, Rahal.
You see how close this battle has been and how much it has moved them up on Villeneuve, who was on the right of the screen there going down the back stretch. They are only a second or so back of him right now. It would be, there's Villeneuve going off the left of the screen, and with the intensity of this battle, they may draw even closer. But remember, Rahal has made very few on-the-track passes so far this year. It'll be interesting to see if he can put one on DeFerrin.
Gary Gerald?
Well, I think that situation for Bobby Rahal and his team down there was just worthy of great pit work, because it's our understanding they picked up 4 spots directly because of their efficiency in the pits. He is down at pit in. He's in the very first pit stall, but then you've got that 80-mile limit all the way up the hill along pit road. But nonetheless, he was able to beat 4 teams in the process.
Gary, we have that pit stop at under 12 seconds.
That's amazing. And when you consider a full load of fuel, it's tough to get that much fuel in that short a time. Usually it's 13 and a half at best.
Now everybody needs to keep watching as you watch this track. No, it's very hot out there. The track temperature is very hot, as we told you, but it's going to get slower and slipperier as time goes on.
Well, that says it all right there. Look at Rahal's jump from 8th to 4th in the pits, and the fact that he had dramatically the fastest of all the pit stops.
And of course, while the stop is still first and second, Villeneuve to Andretti, that stop was good enough to put Andretti on the back of Villeneuve so he could in fact attack him when the time became available. Now, almost back by popular demand, though we rather see him in a race car on a given weekend. There was so much great mail about Parker Johnstone that Parker's joined us again for a couple of laps here. Parker, what do you think of all this? I bet you wish you were out there now.
Well, Bobby, Sam, Paul, we got to quit meeting like this, but I was talking to Jacques late last night in the paddock. He said that his car was so good in qualifying and so well balanced that they were going to dial in some understeer today, because the driver's worst fear in this kind of heat is the car going to oversteer. And if we watch that last exchange between Villeneuve and Michael, when you put 40 gallons of fuel in these cars, they go to even a bigger push. And just before that pit stop, Michael had a perfectly balanced car and Jacques had quite a bit of understeer. So it's much easier on 40 gallons of fuel for Michael, whose car was relatively better balanced than Jacques, to drive right past him. What a great racing duel between the two of them.
Parker, I find it ironic that you, who are probably in the best shape of any driver here, going to run a marathon, you told me this fall, are not in this race, which of all races could have played into your hands. I'm sorry about that.
Well, thanks very much. But if you're around racing for any length of time, you know it's got its highs and its lows. And we just take this one and look forward to our next race in Vancouver. But I tell you, the kind of racing that's going on here today, I've forgotten that we're even out of it, because this is some of the most exciting IndyCar racing I've seen in a long time.
Who do you rate as the fittest drivers that are running near the front today?
Well, I tell you that all the guys here are in really good condition. I mean, even Bobby Rahal's gone on quite a conditioning program over this past winter. And someone like Bobby Rahal, that's logged thousands and thousands of miles around this racetrack, knows how to get around here with the least amount of physical effort and the least amount of mental effort. So you look at some of the old wise veteran like Bobby Rahal, he's going to be able to do this on maybe a little less physical effort than maybe DeFerran, who he's following here, or even Michael or Jacques, who are trying to keep it right on the front of the pace at the top of the field.
Well, while we've been watching this battle, a black flag was displayed for Scott Goodyear. You see him right there rounding the corner to the outside of Rahal. Apparently, during that confusion on the fire on Ribeiro's car when he left the pit, he ran over an air hose, so they gave him a stop-and-go penalty. At the front of the field, it is Michael Andretti that is the leader, now 9 seconds, almost 10 seconds, ahead of Jacques Villeneuve in the Miller Genuine Draft 200. By the way, they've gone to a full course yellow as a result of this, but watch Villeneuve as he comes alongside Rahal. Just straight off into the wall. The good news is that Bobby climbed out of the car immediately. The question is, what may in fact be the problem, if there is any, with Jacques Villeneuve's car? Or is that just a quick push off the course?
Now, I think Villeneuve's obviously got a problem. He's been slowing down. Rahal, he got off the groove there. Rahal was actually passing Villeneuve on the outside, Paul. And watch it right here. Here's this one now. He's right alongside of Villeneuve. Right alongside of him. Now, Villeneuve went out there, hit him, and boom, off Rahal went to the outside. Here's another one here. Villeneuve on the left, Rahal on the right. Right there. Boom, they touched. Out Rahal goes. There just wasn't room enough. That's up over the hill where Sam was relating earlier to how the cars get a little bit airborne. Bad place to be touching right there.
Well, that means that on lap 40, 3 laps before the halfway, or lap and a half before the halfway, a full course yellow comes out, and there's the PPG pace car as it winds its way around, leading Michael Andretti, the leader of the race, and Gilles de Ferran, who currently occupies second. Now, here's the car we care about. And Rahal, look at him.
Watch what Rahal does here. He did not approve of that, and of course it has huge ramifications as far as the championship is concerned.
That'll probably be about a $5,000 fine, but he's not joking right now.
So we're under a full course yellow at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. We'll return after this message. Out of the race, but he's keeping a sense of humor and making a great impression on the fans as Bobby Rahal walks down the hill away from his shattered race car.
Inside, he's burning. Outside, hey, he loves his fans.
Now let's just listen to this time through as Rahal's pursuing Villeneuve.
It's hard to escape the irony that he hit his sponsor's logo along the guardrail, isn't it?
Yep. Let's go down to the pits, Jackaroo.
Well, Barry Green, you had a chance to look at the replays. Any report prior to the accident with a problem on Jacques' car?
No, we were a little unusual how we're dropping back a little bit there. We started out with a nice easy pace. The car, he thought when we put the second set of tires on, had a little more understeer than before. That slowed us up a little bit, but I think we'll be okay. You know, I don't know what happened between him and Bobby. He said they got together. I didn't see it.
How about the hard hit, though? Any concerns now for the drivetrain on your car?
No, we ran there was still 1 or 2 laps after that contact under green conditions, and he said the car felt okay. So I think we're okay. We're looking good.
Now, what do you have to do? You keep counseling them about taking on fuel. You're trying to run this a conservative race. Is it a situation where you're really concerned about points?
Well, for sure we are, yeah. We've got to look at this race at a podium finish. That's what we're shooting for. You know, there's a lot of racing left in the championship, and we don't want to be too conservative. So, you know, he feels good, the car feels good. So a long way to go in this heat, though. So keep your fingers crossed.
Paul?
So still under a full course caution now with 41 laps complete. We're at the halfway point at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and Michael Andretti leads under the yellow. Back to the Miller Genuine Draft 200. Right at the halfway point right now, just beyond it, 42 laps. Michael Andretti is the leader. You've seen the changes, 2 of them, 3 different leaders. One of those, of course, being to Farron when he was the leader during the first round of pit stops, and those are the cars out of the race. You've heard from Parker Johnstone and, of course, Andre Ribeiro, and we're kind of chasing down Bobby Rahal. We'll try to get him to you. A couple of things to note as we take a look at the silly season. Well, Jacques Villeneuve, we know he's Formula One bound. Robbie Gordon, he's going to stay there. He doesn't have an option. He's got a contract. Christian Fittipaldi, does he go to Newman Haas as Michael's teammate? Does he go to Arciero Wells? We don't know. Pruitt, will he have a teammate in 1996? Paul Tracy, is he going to Penske or Hogan or a combination Penske-Hogan? That's one of the other rumors. Teo Fabi, well, maybe Greg Moore comes in as a teammate there. And Jimmy Vasser, well, vacillating. He's got a lot of options, though Chip Ganassi says he has signed the deal with him for next year. And, of course, new teams. Dan Gurney is here. He's going to be one of the Toyota teams. We assume that Fangio will be part of that. So that's just part of what's being said here this weekend, and it makes for some interesting conversation. Now let's go to the pits and Gary Gerald.
Paul, as they anticipate green, keep an eye on Scott Pruitt and whether or not he pulls over to let DeFerrin get by, keeping in mind what happened at Cleveland on the last lap. We've just gone green. Jim Hall said they went down and asked Patrick. He says, I'm hopeful that they'll let us by, but there was no definitive decision.
The performance of the Firestone tires with which Pruitt's car is shod has not been as terrific here as it certainly was 2 weeks ago in Michigan. The Firestone cars were midfield and worse in the qualifying.
We'll see how much of an issue it becomes, as here is the first opportunity. Though DeFerrin seems to be a little too far back to make the move, but let him close under braking.
Remember that DeFerrin was bitterly upset by what happened between him and Pruitt when DeFerrin had the race locked up in his mind in Cleveland. So he's going to treat this very, very carefully, while at the same time he's got to be aware that Michael is pulling away.
DeFerrin runs in second, while Pruitt is back in 17th. 16 cars on the lead lap. Pruitt is the first of those that have been passed by the leaders.
And also keep in mind that Scott Pruitt is not going to pull over until he gets pushed. In other words, if somebody's up there and he's trying to help him out a little bit when he's a lap down, he would do that. But he's not going to do it until somebody gets to him. Nobody would do that.
Great moves here today. Christian Fittipaldi started 15th, is now 8th. Eddie Cheever started 23rd, now runs 15th.
There's Scott Pruitt right on the left. There's DeFerrin right behind him. DeFerrin's on the same lap. He's number 2 right behind the leader. Scott Pruitt's the one that Sam was talking about.
And then, of course, you see Villeneuve in the blue just coming into the screen on the left. And it's Villeneuve whose championship his lead is being extended, basically, by the circumstances of today.
Another fire in the pits. This is Christian Fittipaldi, who quickly was out of his car.
Fittipaldi, by far the most successful of the rookies so far this year in terms of the rookie point scoring. He's way ahead.
And some interesting problems. Fires in the cars, 2 of them thus far today. Here it is as it happened, Bobby Unser. The report from the pits is that some of the air guns have been failing as well. Look at him look back to make sure the pit lane was clear when he hopped out there.
Look how fast those young guys get out of those cars. I'm telling you what, that's really something. That's the fastest I've seen a guy get out of a race car in a long time.
So back on the leader, Michael Andretti. Gary Gerald?
Paul, some of the crews here in the pits are also having problems with power. They've lost the power source behind pit wall. The Newman Haas team has been scrambling, as has the Patrick team. They have run cords all the way up over the grassy knoll back to transporters, and they're trying to get power fully restored to their respective pits.
So that affects things like the telemetry receivers.
Telemetry, I would think, and
the computers, so they're battery powered. They got to get them over to it. Two-way radios tend to be portable. But, Jack Harut, that can affect a lot of things.
Well, not only that, add to this end of the pits, Paul, we've got a problem potentially on Jack Villeneuve. Radioed in that he thinks maybe his brakes are beginning to go away. The crew jumped out over the wall, had tires at bay, waiting for him to make his presence known on pit road, and Jack decided to go out one additional lap, but they are really biting their fingernails right now, seeing if, and I don't know how this could happen, the problem will correct itself.
Well, Jack, he's under great pressure right now from one of the latest breakers in the business, Paul Tracy, who's got him in his sight. So if Jack has brake problems, this is a bad time for him.
And who does that serve well for? Well, Robbie Gordon currently runs back in 7th place. And in the points fight, with Rahal being out of this thing, Michael theoretically is going to move around. Now, we've got Robbie's radio here. Let's pay attention to that for a bit.
Could get a good idea how he's driving and the groove he's driving from what we saw from Bobby Rahal for such a long time.
Now remember here, as he looks ahead, of course, he's assessing what the traffic is, who's there, what kind of moves they're going to make, his chances of getting by at particular points in the track. But his eyes are darting first to one apex.
That's okay. Hang in there. DeFerrin's has problems. Villeneuve's backing up to Tracy. Just keep going. Keep your head. Watch out ahead. DeFerrin's got a motor going away. He's blowing smoke out.
There's DeFerrin, of course, in yellow. We hear nothing from here, nor do we see smoke. Derek Walker, who radioed that to Robbie Gordon, is standing right out at the pit wall. We see smoke now. There's DeFerrin.
And he moves over to the side to let the rest of the field by. So DeFerrin, thank you, Derek Walker, for noting that to us, is pulling off the race course and is out of the fight. And he pulls off, of course, from second. That now gives Villeneuve second place, followed by Tracy, and then Brian Herta, Mauricio Gugelmin, and then Robbie Gordon.
Now, all this heat and the humidity is what makes it hard on the engine. That doesn't mean that that's why every engine would blow or break for some reason, but by the same token, it really makes it harder on everything. It's partially the reason for the fires. It's certainly hard on the engines and the transmission, for sure the tires.
Michael Andretti has pulled away to a lead of almost 7 seconds, and you have to feel that perhaps the reliability problems he suffered with that Ford Series 2 engine earlier in the year might be behind him. The brake problems he suffered might be behind him. He might be a real threat to win this race. And here comes his teammate on the attack. Should Tracy get by, Newman Haas will be leading 1-2.
Look at this great lineup behind second place, Jack Villeneuve. Christian Fittipaldi, you saw him jump out of his car with a fire a few moments ago. Now he's with Jack Harut.
Well, actually, it's Gary down here with
Gary.
him. Well, that's not a problem. Christian, this is the second incident we've seen of fire today on pit road. Most unusual. Do you have any idea what caused your problem?
Maybe it's because of the heat. It's way too hot today to run. It's very difficult, and the thing just caught fire. I don't know what happened, and it was running quite okay regarding where we started in the race. We were picking up a lot of places, and it just caught fire.
Well, he said it's very, very hard. I think that's the understatement of the day. It's tough on everybody, crew members, drivers alike down here. Jack?
Well, Gary, it's very hot with the boiling of the fluid in the brakes for Jacques Villeneuve as well. You see this little canister here? They've got 4 of these out at bay and at the ready, along with the wrenches. When Jacques Villeneuve comes in, they are going to drain the brake system and try and put additional fluid back in. Bobby Unser, you know, once you get the fluid boiling, you lose all use of brakes. That's not what you want on a road course.
Oh, but boy, bleeding the brakes in the middle of a race, you can get air in there and everything. You got to be very
Well,
careful.
it's not getting air in, Paul, as it is the fluid boils, and that causes the air to be there.
Yeah, but I'm saying to try and do that maneuver during a break, that could be fascinating. We'll be back right after this.
Welcome back to our coverage of the Miller Genuine Draft 200 as we ride along with Paul Tracy, currently running in third and trying to chase down Jacques Villeneuve. Michael Andretti leading. Tracy finished second here a year ago, but then remember he was driving for Roger Penske, and you'll remember this was one of the few Penske sweeps. Remember that? They all crossed the finish line at the same time. And so he's looking for his next race. If he can move up, he's trying to chase down Villeneuve for second.
At the same time, Michael Andretti has pulled out 12.5 seconds as a lead on second place Jacques Villeneuve. And should Villeneuve let this car, Paul Tracy, pass, there's a whole line. Herta, Guzman, Gordon, Fernandez right behind him.
Remember that both Villeneuve and Tracy are Canadians. They're much beloved in their country. Tracy, a year ago, was being touted for Formula One. That has not become a reality. Now Villeneuve is going in the footsteps of his father, of course, to Formula One. But obviously, I'm sure the Canadians are hoping that they do not tangle here in their maneuver.
More on the brakes. There goes Robbie Gordon into the pits right there. Boy, I saw him jump off the track. I thought that's where he's going.
Let's listen here. See if we can get the two-way radio up. This is on the 54th lap.
Problem on the left front here. Let's get another gun ready. Let's get another gun. Get some help with him. Get him to help there. It's got a problem, Robbie. It's got a problem. It's got a problem.
And while he sits, of course, everyone's screaming pass. And another gun problem, apparently.
Okay, go. Watch your speed. Watch your speed.
38.5 seconds on that stop.
There's a problem with the axle. The safety latch on the front axle is broken. That's the problem. Couldn't get the gun on. It wouldn't let the gun go on. Right, man. Take this thing away. I can hear you.
So Michael Andretti at the front of the field while Robbie Gordon upset with that exceedingly long stop.
Now, I started to say something about the brakes a little bit earlier before Robbie made his pit stop. I was going to explain that on a track like this, it's so hot, you have to put in new brake fluid in the entire system. Brake fluid, by its natural way, absorbs water out of the air. It's like a sponge to water. And for every little dinky bit of water, the brake fluid boiling point goes down like 20, 50, 75 degrees at a time. So it's possible right there. That car, Jacques Villeneuve, it's possible they forgot to put in new brake fluid. And I'm not saying they didn't. It's just very possible that they didn't do it. That makes such a difference on a course like this.
You wouldn't think that would be likely with Team Green. Jackaroo, would you think that?
Well, I would have to think that they are so meticulous that that's not the problem, but rather what's happened is with the tight racing that we've had and the fact that Villeneuve has had so many close quarter contacts that maybe he has begun to use up the brakes, and with the heat and humidity the way it is, it's began to boil out. One of the things I find fascinating is the radio communications back and forth. What they're saying now to Jacques Villeneuve is, look, if you have to give up a spot, go ahead. Just try not to use any more brake then you have to. I still think that probably what they're trying to do is forestall as long as possible that tedious process of trying to bleed the brakes. That takes a very, very long time, and if he can limp home in a points-paying position, that accomplishes what they've set out to do today.
Well, a long time, but not only that, working right down alongside those hot discs, I'm not so sure I'd be willing to do that.
Well, it's possible if he eases up, which he probably has. Sometimes you even go faster when you ease up. But when the brake fluid boils, you lose your good pedal. And you can finish the race by just losing good pedal.
View down from the Honda Helicam as we continue to track. Jacques Villeneuve runs in second place, continues to be reporting a problem back to his team with the brakes, and Paul Tracy is lurking just behind, followed by Herta, Gugelmin, and Fernandez. Fangio, who started this race as his very first IndyCar start, is up and running in 10th place right now in Danny Sullivan's car.
Fangio, of course, the nephew of the great Juan Fangio, who died so recently, the great five-time world champion, who incidentally was born back in 1911, the year of the first Indy 500. The two legends have that same starting point.
Running back in 12th position, Stefan Johansson.
Now on Fangio, I think the interesting thing there is it's Dan Gurney and Toyota. Next year, they will be here. The P.J. Jones, Parnelli Jones's boy, and Fangio in the Toyota team. And I think that's going to help racing and make it a lot more interesting.
That's Fangio running just ahead as Johansson comes in and the second round of stops are underway. Michael Andretti still staying out on the course, still staying in the lead.
When Stefan makes his start out of here, notice how steeply uphill it is. Very tricky to get these cars going from the early part of the pit lane where you see that steep hill he faces. Have to really get that clutch just right.
More importantly, look at that hose. That's what the guys run over it that we see the penalties about. And the guys got it out just in time.
And there is Michael Andretti, the leader of the race, came into the pits with a 15-second lead, Gary Gerald.
That is an absolute luxury to have that kind of a lead. Now they want to protect it here, what should be their final stop. Michael thought he wanted a slight handling change on the front wing, then at the last minute said no, keep the car exactly as it is. So it's fuel and rubber, and he is gone in 14.3 on our clock.
And you see as Michael comes out behind Eric Bachelard that Jacques Villeneuve stayed out, screamed down the main straightaway, and so assumes the lead of the race for the time being at least.
This is the kind of race we have not seen Michael have for years now, going back to just before he went to Formula One.
EDS scoring showing us that when he came into the pits, Michael had 15.7 seconds over Jacques Villeneuve. So that's kind of sets the benchmark for what Team Green will have to pull off on this stop. And it sure isn't likely that he can maintain the lead. In fact, the question is, can he stay at the top of the order and get that podium finish that Barry Green spoke about earlier?
Bad thing like about Villeneuve right there in the number 27 cars, you can't pass if you don't have really good brakes. Passing is predicated on road circuits and driving in deeper in most cases and being able to stop the car. If you have to back off earlier, you've given away your advantage.
This, of course, is what championships are made of, is nursing a car home to the finish in the points, being aware that there's a real championship end game. After this race, only 3 races left, fewer points to be scored by your opponents. Rahal out of the race, so Villeneuve knows what he has to do, which is basically bring it home in one piece.
Show you what an inspiration that long stop, 38 seconds, was for Robbie Gordon. He is now running 13th, but he just turned the fastest lap in the race by nearly a mile an hour, now running a lap at 115.5.
Well, one thing that was great, you heard Derek Walker able to explain to Robbie what had gone wrong during the pit stop. That's the benefit, isn't it, Bobby, of these radios? Because in the old days, we'd go back out on the track not really sure what had caused the delay, and sometimes worrying that there was a mechanical problem perhaps aboard the car. Robbie knows there's nothing wrong with the car. He can push hard.
Yes, of course, a lot of times the guys don't know about the little things. Sometimes the pits, them don't even tell them if there's something small. There's Villeneuve coming in the pits right now.
Yeah, finally. So Jack heads in, and Jack waits. Jack Arute.
Jacques Villeneuve knows that he has got to try and make up some time and also conserve the brakes. the crew will go to work, and the first thing that they will do when they put the tires on is they took a cursory glance at the brakes. They have signaled that they have completed the rear end. They have completed the front. They're taking out fuel. They are not going to do anything about the brakes, and he is off and away very quickly in 13.6 seconds.
Boy, that's interesting.
And what a great camera angle.
They just can't afford to bleed the brakes right now. It would take too long. It totally would take him out of any chance probably to even get any points in the race if they were to stop bleeding. But for safety's sake, if he couldn't maintain it, Barry Green would absolutely stop that car and bleed him.
So the new leader on the track is Paul Tracy. Been 31 laps since his last stop came on lap 31. And we would expect that he would make a stop very shortly here.
He'll probably come in this time by, Paul.
Also expect a stop by Brian Herta and Adrian Fernandez. So Paul Tracy makes his turn in to Gary Gerald.
Paul, he's got a wide open shot at it here because just moments ago, Mauricio Gugelmin made his final stop. So Tracy is on the marks. He had a very ill-handling car early, but the change they made on the last stop brought him back, and they thought the track was coming to them. He's a much happier driver right now, and this is a terrific stop in 12.5 seconds.
Oh, super stop by the Newman Haas team. So Paul Tracy drops off the lead while he makes his stop. And we should be in now a run that should take us to the end. We'll be back after this message. Back at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, in the past few moments, Stefan Johansson pulled off the edge of the race course, and no indication immediately as to why. He just a sudden, quick pull-off. He did look down in the cockpit as if he was looking to see if fluid maybe had surged forward from the engine compartment, and asked that the corner workers get over with a fire bottle, if not a water bottle, fairly quickly. So Stefan Johansson out of this race. Coming up next, we've got more racing for you here on ABC Sports as Teo Fabi's car is being pushed back into the pit area. He was running third. It'll be Michigan International Speedway and the International Race of Champions. Points leader Dale Earnhardt is heading for his second IROC title. That's coming up next here on ABC Sports. So there's Teo Fabi's car. He was up in third place, but suddenly he pulled off. Marco Greco pulls off. It's got to be the heat.
Oh, the heat's just tearing everything up. You know, as we said earlier, about 3/4 of the way through this race, you just watch it. But not only the cars, the tires, the brakes, the drivers are going to be tired too.
All right, the situation now is Al Unser Jr., with those stops, has picked up the lead of the race. But remember, he's out of the sequence. His pit stop has been at an entirely different interval owing to his problems in the early part of the race. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Well, Gilles de Ferran, we know the engine finally gave out, but everybody's talking about this oppressive heat. How tough was it for you today?
Physically was very tough, but I'm well prepared. And, I was ready to go the distance and give Michael a run for his money, And it was just a shame what happened. The Pennzoil car was running great, and team did a good job on the pit stops, It's just a shame.
Thank you so much. Grab that cold towel and get cool.
Thank you.
Paul?
So watching Al Unser Jr. stopped 26 laps ago, so should be due any time now.
Remember last year how Al led a triumphant Penske 1-2-3 finish here at this track, and how that typified the entire season. Penske utterly dominant. And this year, how rarely we've seen them in the lead. Al won one race, that was Long Beach. Emerson won one race, but they have struggled. Of course, they didn't get in the race at Indianapolis. I don't think it's that they've had such a bad season. Do you, Bobby? It's that the rest of the competition has caught up.
Absolutely, Sam. The Lola cars made a big gain this year. The Renard cars made a gain from what they had last year. Penske's cars just didn't make a gain this year. Another thing that's kind of nice about little Al is he's running out in clean air by himself. Gilles de Ferran, for the guys who were watching earlier on the television, he was running behind somebody. The car ahead puts out a lot of heat through the exhaust, heats the car up behind a whole bunch. Sometimes this has to do on a hot day like this with breaking the engine more often.
For people who care about, I'm sorry, Paul.
Bobby, you got an insight at Penske Racing. What's going on back there at Poole, England, where, by the way, they do watch these shows? Can you let any secrets out? Do you think they're building a new car right now?
Well, I guess I could tell you a little bit. They are building a new car. I don't think it'd take a I don't think it'd take a brainstorm to figure out he would be building a new car, but it's being done now in a hurry because they know that they've got a problem with this year's car, and they know they have to have a better car, more adjustable car, something they can work with a whole lot better. For example, when they had problems at Indianapolis, not just have to live with the problem, but be able to change it till they get the car right again.
Well, Emerson Fittipaldi's car is being pushed out of the pit area. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
They suspect it may have been a valve spring problem. No confirmation on that. And another disappointing Sunday afternoon for a former champion. He's had it tough, as you have mentioned. This has been a particularly tough year. His 25th in motor racing for Emerson Fittipaldi.
So Al Unser Jr. out of sequence in the stops, continues his lead. Adrian Fernandez driving for Rick Gallis with a nice run. Started 11th, now sits in 5th place, but very much in attack position. Remember that Al Unser Jr. is 7 seconds ahead of Michael Andretti, and then Michael kind of sits alone on the course. But after that, Paul Tracy, Villeneuve, Fernandez, Herta, Gugelman, well, they're all tight in the lineup.
But keep in mind, little Al is going to have to stop not too far from now.
In fact, you would expect at just any moment, glance down to the pit, Team Penske ready in position, but have not put any equipment over the wall. So Al Unser Jr. due for his stop just any moment now, if not on this next lap. And that will give the lead of the race over to Michael Andretti. Doesn't seem logical that in any way that little Al could get in and out of the pits in time enough to keep Michael Andretti charging and taking the lead. So 68 laps are now complete. And Al Unser Jr. leads it, but very shortly we expect Michael to take over the lead. And we should see a battle between Michael and his teammate. We'll be back. Back at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course, the stop was made by Al Unser Jr. and Michael Andretti picked up the lead again. Tonight on ABC, catch an hour of America's Funniest Home Videos, followed by Lois and Clark. And then he's traveled to the moon, wandered the world as Forrest Gump. Now Tom Hanks stars with Meg Ryan and Joe versus the Volcano on the Sunday night movie. That's all tonight on ABC.
Paul, as you watch here, there's little Al on the right, Tracy on the left. Little Al actually came out with an advantage over that pit stop. This is another Penske-type strategy thing. His pit stop was only 10 seconds, and it was what we call a time stop, enabling him to come out ahead of Paul Tracy. He went from being like somewhere in the middle tens, or say 5 or 7th place, along in there, up into 2nd place now, and that was all because of good strategy on when he stopped.
So Al Unser Jr. comes out in 2nd place, followed by Tracy, Villeneuve, and Fernandez. Guy that figured so keenly into the points fight was Bobby Rahal. Gary Gerald, you have him now.
Well, the last time we saw him, he was high-fiving the fans coming back, and while that was a great public relations gesture to the fans in the heat, I know you were not happy with the way things turned out. Did Villeneuve do a job on you?
Well, let's put it this way. I think he, I know 2 cars will fit around there side by side. Al Jr. and I did it at the start, and for some reason we couldn't do it in this case, so, you know, I don't know. I think he's getting real tired because he was braking earlier and earlier, and that's how DeFerrin got by him, and he went real wide. And, you know, it's just unfortunate. Our car was running beautifully and had a great pit stop, and there's all kinds of ways of winning, I guess.
Well, in terms of the championship, and we talked about that as we came on the air today, this is almost a devastating blow.
Yeah, I'd say that this takes us out of the championship. I mean, we had an uphill battle anyway, but I'd say it's pretty well out of reach.
Well, I think in a moment we're going to put you on a headset here and you get a chance to talk with Sam and Bobby and Paul in the booth in these final laps, and we'll get into just how tough it is in the heat today. Bobby, thank you.
Yeah, it's hot, but you know, that's what you work out for. And if the car's handling well, I mean, yeah, it's you know, you're losing a lot of fluid out there, but you got to be in good shape. And if you're in good shape, you're going to be okay.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you.
All right, here's Adrian Fernandez as he closes down on Jacques Villeneuve. Let's take a look at the points fight right now, because it's become critical at this point in the season. Well, Rahal moves out of that 2nd place position, and as these points are at the start of the day, and Michael Andretti now moves up into 2nd place with Bobby Rahal having fall out. This is if the race ended now, or the points running, whatever term you care to use. And there are, remember, 66 points left in the season. So, well, mathematically, you can still run down through Paul Tracy on the chart. But as Jack Villeneuve continues to stay in the order. It's not the podium finish that he may in fact have wanted, but it certainly is still a position to extend, if not extend, but protect his lead in the points fight.
Even though Villeneuve is getting a little further away in the points fight, the other guys are really closing up. And of course, second and third is really a big thing in IndyCar racing today.
Bobby Rahal, you may not be aware of this, but there have been extensive reports on the quality of Jack Villeneuve's brakes, that they were in fact at one point considering bleeding his brakes and replacing it with new fluid, and now they've told him just to stay out there and stay involved. How do you react to that position as we're watching Fernandez close down on Villeneuve?
Well, I don't know, Paul. It doesn't look like it's too bad here. Fernandez isn't going slowly. He's going pretty quickly. Now, it looks like Jacques has a little bit of a problem coming into the last corner into the carousel, but, obviously he's still going fairly quickly. So, whatever problems he has, you can see it there, but they must not be that big at this point in time.
And either they hit something or it flew off the car.
Yeah, it looks like he ran over something on the road, like one of the appendages on the front wing, on somebody's front wing might have come off and they ran over it, but it looks like no harm.
Bobby, I think it's hard for a lot of people to believe that you could drive pretty fast in a racing car with almost no brakes at all. Could you describe what that's like?
Well, it's amazing. Sam, when you run endurance racing, you decide, well, I'm not going to shift as much because I want to take it easy on the gearbox. The next thing you know, you're going as fast, using half the gears as you were with them all, and it's just because you're a lot smoother and you're able to carry the momentum into the car, into the corners. And I think you can do that to some extent with the brakes. Now, obviously, if they get to such a point that, there's nothing there, no brake pedal to speak of, that's a whole different situation. But, as long as there's some brake pedal, it might be a long one, but as long as there's some brake pad being used, you can still go pretty quickly.
And Bobby, don't you think what he's doing, like, for example, down the long back straightaway, he's able to pump his brakes just a little bit without putting too much drag on them. But all the way through the S's and the tight turns here, no time to pump them.
Yeah, exactly, Bobby. He's obviously probably going into the first turn. When he comes out of this corner here, he'll be pumping the brakes up to prepare them for turn one, and then he'll do it out of turn one for turn two. And as long as he's got a long enough straightaway, he can get the pads back up to the disc. But as you say, if he's going from one tight corner to a next, that's when he runs into trouble.
Boy, and look at the line that's behind him now. Oh, Bobby, this is some bad news for you. Raul's out.
Yeah, as an owner, that's real bad news.
But speaking of all of that, this is the silly season time. Can you tell us what's in store for your team for next year? Well, I assume you're going to keep yourself as the driver.
Yeah, as Carl told
look at this, Bobby. I want to distract you a little. This is pretty good.
It is. I don't know. Now it looks like Fernandez is having some kind of problem with the braking or what have you. But I'll tell you, if you get outside, there's a lot of rubber and a lot of marbles forming up on the outside of the corners. And if you get a little bit offline, it can really slow you up.
All right, so I interrupted you, and I'm sorry. What about your team for 96?
Well, as Carl Hogan mentioned to you guys at Toronto, we're going ahead and we're going to go our separate ways. It's been a great partnership, but I have the support of the sponsors we're very pleased with, and we intend to go forward, and hopefully we're going to have enough sponsorship to run Raul. He's done a good job for us this year, and I hope we can keep him. I know Carl's got plans that I think he's going to be announcing soon, so I imagine we'll have two good teams in IndyCar racing next year, not just one.
All right, so Michael Andretti is still the leader of the race, and we are in the closing laps now, so when we come back, we'll see whether or not Michael can hold on to this almost gigantic 12-second lead over Al Unser Jr. Back at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course with 5 laps to go in the Miller Genuine Draft 200. Michael Andretti, the leader. The focus is here because it's a focus on the points fight. 27 car, Jack Villeneuve, he was looking for a podium finish. Well, right now he's in 4th place, and Adrian Fernandez has been right there in that bright red and green car, worrying him the last several laps.
It's certainly Adrian's time. He's been good today. He's been fast. That's in the Gallus car. Right there, the car's in second, the green, red, all types of colors on it. He's been good today, but he gets to him, Paul, and he seems to get the rubber on the outside, slides a little bit, and falls back.
Adrian had a quiet first half of the season, but he's been coming on strongly. Of course, his third at Michigan was terrific.
So it's Michael Andretti, then Little Al in second, 12 seconds back, followed by Paul Tracy, then this car, Jack Villeneuve, then Fernandez, then Brian Herta, and Mauricio Gugelmin. And Michael, the leader of the race, suddenly slows. Now, there had been a report of a header problem, and now look at him in the Penske pits as they urge Al Unser Jr. on, Jack Arute.
Well, that's exactly what the problem. They were actually checking the telemetry, and the way you could tell that there was a problem with Michael Andretti, his father, Mario, just took the headset off slowly, put his head down and shook it. You could hear it the last time by. The car sounded ill. I asked Tom Wirtz if it was a header problem. He wasn't quite sure. Next thing you know, Michael Andretti's out of the race.
Oh, boy. Michael can't seem to buy one this year.
I know. That was really a sad thing for him. It surely probably not a header. It's probably the engine that broke on the thing, because otherwise he'd have brought it on around. It will still run with the header broken. Obviously, Little Al is not having any problem. Look at Michael, just dejected as could be.
80 laps complete, 3 to go. Just 3 laps. A little over 7 miles, and Michael Andretti would have had his second of the season.
This even further consolidates Jacques' lead, because, of course, Michael had taken over the pursuer position in the championship.
And it also puts Jacques Villeneuve in that podium position in 3rd place that Team Green was looking for.
And it also really shows how important the team planning is on the pit stop. The one thing that Roger Penske is so good at, so famous for, is really benefiting Little Al today.
That's a sad view, isn't it?
You know, people just have to realize how hard this race has been today and how good a job that Michael has done to appreciate his feelings.
He may be a little physically done in, too, because he's been driving hard in this oppressive heat. I think we're going to see a lot of drivers get out of their cars after the race, nod like that a little bit.
Well, 2nd place is Michael's teammate, Paul Tracy. He's 7 seconds back. And here's just something to consider. Remember, the last stop by Al Unser Jr. was a very quick stop, a totally timed stop. Now, one assumes that in that 10-second interval that they got the exact right amount of fuel in. But what if they didn't, Bobby?
Well, it would quit on him, but it isn't going to. I just know the Penske crew too well. And they've got telemetry. Remember, it sends it from there to the pits, tells them what it's doing. If Little Al, for example, boy, that was a close one right there. If Little Al, for example, with Salazar there, if he was having problems, they'd already have him short shifting and backing off, because they know how much fuel he's got. He's worried about that 7 seconds with Tracy right behind him there.
Well, as he runs through traffic, and Scott Pruitt comes right up behind him, could very definitely become a factor in the Little Al's win here. Pruitt's running 11, trying to get back on the leader lap, because he is the one car behind the 10 that are on the leader lap at the moment, Gary Gerald.
Well, we just posed the question about the fuel on that time stop. Are there any concerns they didn't get enough? There are no concerns. Their concern is Salazar. They said a moment ago they felt like they almost ran their driver off the course. And so that was the biggest concern here, not fuel.
All right, the final lap. The white flag is already flown over on the pit straight. And he is very definitely sandwiched in between Salazar and Pruitt, with Paul Tracy closing in. Paul Tracy nibbled 4 seconds off the lead on the last lap. He could do that again this lap. He could be with him at the finish.
And just think about Little Al now. He just absolutely doesn't want to have Salazar be the factor, because he can't pass him on the last lap, because he doesn't want to take any chances. It could cost the entire race, 83 laps of his work.
On the other hand, he's only got half a lap to go now, which should give him a big enough cushion, and Tracy coming on is going to have to pass Pruitt, who's a tough guy to pass.
Keep an eye back for Tracy. There he is. He still has a car, Alessandro Zampedri, that he would have to get around before he was even on the back of Pruitt. So Al Unser Jr. making the final turn. There is the checkered flag. And Little Al takes the victory at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, the 29th of his career and the 2nd this season. First and second, Al Unser Jr., Paul Tracy right behind him, as they roll in at the conclusion of the run here of 186 miles, and Al Unser Jr. has taken the win. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Getting the congratulations of his crew, Al Unser Jr. Last year in victory lane so many times. Richard Buck, his crew chief, talking to him. We'll see if we can get a quick word with Al as he tries to get out of the car.
one of the things you can see, they have all of the paraphernalia hooked up to him, and they have to kind of surgically remove him from the cockpit here, especially with all the fluids that Al had to take in today. Let's see if we can get him up out of here with as quickly as possible. We'll get his helmet off, and we'll ask him the quick question, because probably the thing, Al Jr., that most people want to know is you had to put so much faith in your team, had you pitting out of sequence, and yet they kept you right in the hunt.
Yeah, they really did. You know, the whole team did a super job all day. They prepared the car super, and, you know, we were using the tires up a little bit too much, and so we needed to pit early and get out of sequence because the car was using up the tires a little bit too much. But you know, what can I say? These guys are awesome.
Talking with French-Canadian audience at the moment, and everybody's wondering about the incident. And I don't know, Jacques, tell us about the incident that involved you with Bobby Rahal early.
Rahal got me, thanks, on the outside. I was a little bit forward, I slid, and he was too close to me, and I just slid into him.
No damage to the car, no concerns. Will you talk with Bobby Rahal about this incident, or was it just a racing incident in your mind?
Well, I think it was just a racing incident. You know, it was very slippery today, and I tried to stay inside, and I slid into him. It's sad because it would have been a tough fight for the championship.
Yeah, that championship is all but over now, you would think, as Bobby Rahal goes out on what some people may suggest is a questionable passing area. So as we take a